Alhamdulillah, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, may peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Have you ever paused in the middle of your own chaos and wondered, what is Allah trying to teach me through this? Sometimes life slows you down not to punish you, but to whisper something your heart has been too loud to hear. And in that pause, in that sacred stillness, there is a question that echoes inside every soul. Who am I becoming through this journey? Because your life is not just a series of events, it is a divine conversation. And every moment, the joy, the loss, the waiting, the unanswered prayers, is Allah speaking to you in a language deeper than words. Growth in Islam isn't about perfection, it's about awakening. It's about remembering who you are and who you belong to. Allah says that He is closer to you than your jugular vein, closer than the fear you hide, closer than the wounds you carry, closer than the dreams you buried because you thought you weren't enough. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this journey is realizing that even when you haven't moved toward Him, He has already been moving toward you. There are days when the heart feels heavy, when you stand at the edge of your own strength and whisper, I can't anymore. But this is where faith begins. This is where growth begins. Not in the moments of ease, but in the moments when something inside you breaks, and instead of falling apart, you fall into sujood. Because every heartbreak that led you to Allah was never a loss. It was a return. Remember, the Prophet taught us that amazing is the affair of the believer because everything that happens to them is good. But sometimes that good comes wrapped in discomfort. Sometimes it arrives as silence. Sometimes it feels like emptiness. What you call delay, Allah calls preparation. What you call rejection, Allah calls protection. What you call heartbreak, Allah calls redirection. And this is what sabr truly means. Not the absence of emotions, but the refusal to surrender your heart to anything other than Allah. Sabr is choosing to trust when you cannot understand. It is choosing to stand when your soul feels tired. It is choosing to keep walking even when the path is dim, because you know that the one guiding you sees the entire road. Personal growth in Islam is not a sudden transformation. It is a daily returning. It is the small acts, the quiet dua before Fajr, the secret charity, the forgiveness that no one sees, the tears wiped in the darkness that build a stronger soul. Growth happens when you let go of who pain tried to turn you into and embrace who Allah is shaping you to be. So here is your reminder. Every day is a new chance to recreate your inner world. Every moment is a door back to Allah. And even if all you can offer today is a trembling heart and a whispered, Ya Allah, then offer it. Because He never asks you to be perfect, only sincere. He never asks you to rise without falling, only to rise again. Your journey is sacred. Your growth is sacred. And every step you take toward Allah, no matter how small, is already watched, welcomed, and embraced by the most merciful. Keep returning, keep growing, keep walking, because the soul's greatest development is found in its journey back to Him. Personal growth in Islam begins the moment you recognize that you are not walking this journey by your own strength. It starts when you finally understand that every breath, every success, every step forward is sustained by Allah, not by your own abilities. When a person believes they are self-sufficient, growth becomes limited, shallow, and fragile. But the moment you turn inward and acknowledge your dependence on Allah, something inside you softens. Your heart becomes receptive, your soul becomes humble, and your path becomes clearer. Growth rooted in reliance on Allah is deeper because it comes from a place of surrender, not ego. It begins when you whisper, even silently, Ya Allah, I need you more than anything else. That whisper is not weakness. It is the beginning of true inner transformation. When you depend on yourself alone, you feel the weight of every failure. You carry the burden of every decision. You try to hold your world together with trembling hands. But when you depend on Allah, the burden shifts, the fear decreases, the anxiety loosens its grip, because you know that the one who can split seas, heal hearts, calms storms, and right destinies is the one who guides your footsteps. Depending on Allah doesn't mean you stop trying. It means you try with the awareness that outcomes are in His hands, not yours. It frees you from despair when things don't go your way and frees you from arrogance when they do. This dependence is not passive. It is an active, conscious turning toward Allah in every moment. You make effort, but you ask Him to bless it. You plan, but you trust His plan more. You work, but you seek His strength to sustain you. And in that balance, effort and reliance, striving and surrender, you discover the essence of growth that is both spiritual and transformative. True personal development in Islam begins within the heart long before it appears in actions. Outer change may look impressive, but without inner purification, it cannot last. The soul is the place where intentions are born, desires are shaped, and sincerity is nurtured. When the heart is clouded by pride, resentment, ego, or heedlessness, no matter how much effort you make on the outside, something will always feel incomplete. But when the heart is purified, even small acts become meaningful, consistent, and transformative. Inner growth is the foundation upon which all external progress is built. In Islam, purification of the heart, tazkiyah, is the root from which true personal growth emerges. You can change habits, build routines, chase goals, and discipline your life, but if the heart is not cleaned, the change will feel forced and heavy. Inner purification means removing the spiritual toxins that limit you, jealousy that steals your gratitude, anger that clouds your wisdom, arrogance that blinds you to your flaws, and attachment to the dunya that distracts you from your purpose. When these barriers are softened or removed, the soul becomes lighter, more connected, and more receptive to guidance. Every sin, every harmful pattern, every emotional wound becomes a veil between you and the person Allah wants you to become. That's why Islam teaches that growth starts with intentions. When you fix what is inside, Allah elevates what is outside. A sincere heart brings clarity to your decisions, purity to your efforts, and light to your life. The Prophet told us that there is a piece of flesh in the body, which, if sound, the whole body becomes sound. This is the heart. Personal development rooted in purification transforms your character, your relationships, your resilience, and your worship, creating growth that is steady, sincere, and anchored in faith. Every struggle you face carries a hidden invitation from Allah to rise higher than you were before. Nothing you go through is random, wasted, or unnoticed. Every difficulty has been placed in your path with precision, not to break you, but to awaken you. In Islam, struggle is not a sign that you are failing. It is often a sign that you are being prepared, purified, and strengthened. When Allah wants to elevate you, He does not always do it through comfort. Sometimes He does it through challenges that push you toward growth you would never have chosen on your own. Pain has a way of exposing what needs healing inside you. It reveals your attachments, your assumptions, and the illusions you built around your expectations. Through struggle, Allah shows you the weaknesses you could not see in ease. He shows you the strength He placed within you that you never knew existed. When life tests you, it is Allah opening a door to deeper iman, deeper tawakkul, deeper understanding of yourself and your Lord. The struggle itself becomes a teacher, refining your character and shaping your soul. Every hardship contains a message. When your plans fall apart, Allah may be teaching you reliance. When people disappoint you, He may be teaching you to anchor your heart to Him alone. When something you love is taken away, He may be teaching you that nothing in this world is meant to be permanent. You grow through patience, surrender, and trust. You grow by letting the struggle soften your heart instead of hardening it. The believer rises not because life is easy, but because every challenge becomes a stepping stone towards spiritual maturity. The struggle is not a detour from your path. It is part of the path designed specifically for your elevation. Allah's timing is one of the most powerful forces shaping your personal growth, even when you don't realize it. Nothing in your life is early, nothing is late, and nothing is accidental. Every moment unfolds with divine precision, orchestrated by the one who knows what you do not know and sees what you cannot see. You may be waiting for a breakthrough, a change, a healing, or a prayer to be answered, and from your perspective, it may feel delayed. But from Allah's perspective, it is arriving at the exact second your heart, your faith, and your path are ready to carry it. When something doesn't happen when you expect it to, it is not rejection, it is alignment. Allah aligns events with your spiritual readiness, not your impatience. Sometimes He withholds to protect you. Sometimes He slows you down to strengthen you. Sometimes He delays to purify your intentions. And sometimes He prepares you quietly, internally, before giving you what you've been asking for. You cannot grow into what Allah has written for you until you become the person capable of receiving it. That transformation takes time, and divine timing is what shapes that process. What appears slow to you is fast to Allah. What feels like waiting to you is part of your becoming. Every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every unexpected change is crafted with care. Allah knows the exact moment when the blessing will no longer harm you, the exact moment when the lesson will benefit you, and the exact moment when the gift will elevate you instead of burdening you. His timing is not random. It is merciful, tailored, and precise. When you trust this timing, you stop rushing your growth. You stop comparing your journey. You stop questioning your worth. Instead, you begin to soften into the rhythm Allah has chosen for your life, knowing that whatever arrives by His decree will arrive beautifully, completely, and at the perfect moment. Pain in Islam is never a sign that Allah has abandoned you. It is often a sign that He is drawing you closer. So many people confuse hardship with punishment, forgetting that some of the greatest souls to ever walk this earth were tested most. Pain softens the heart, humbles the ego, and reminds you of your need for Allah in a way comfort never could. When life wounds you, it is not to break you, but to open you to faith, to reflection, to a deeper connection with your Creator. What feels like a collapse on the outside is often an awakening on the inside, a moment when the soul becomes receptive to lessons it was not ready to hear before. Pain is a pathway, not a dead end. Through it, Allah removes what was distracting you, what was unhealthy for your heart, what was taking you further from Him. Sometimes He takes away so you can return. Sometimes He lets things fall apart so you finally fall into sujood. Pain is not a signal of divine anger. It can be a sign of divine love, because Allah purifies those He wishes to elevate. Hardship scrapes away the layers of ego and attachment that block spiritual growth, revealing a heart more humble, sincere, and connected. Your wounds hold wisdom. They teach you compassion, patience, and gratitude. They show you that your strength was never yours. It was always given, always sustained. The moments you felt the weakest may have been the moments Allah was building the strongest version of you. The tears you shed in silence may have been washing your soul clean. Pain forces you to confront what truly matters. It detaches you from what was temporary and redirects you toward what is eternal. And when you heal through Allah, you do not return to who you were before. You return stronger, softer, and more aware of His mercy than ever. Trust in Allah is the heartbeat of consistent personal growth. Without tawakkul, every effort feels heavy, every setback feels final, and every challenge feels overwhelming. But when you place your trust in the one who controls the heavens and the earth, your journey becomes lighter and more meaningful. Tawakkul is not simply belief, it is the state of your heart resting in the certainty that Allah is with you, guiding you, protecting you, and writing your story with wisdom far beyond what you can comprehend. When you trust Allah, you begin to walk through life with a quiet confidence, knowing that you are never alone, even when everything around you feels uncertain. Tawakkul fuels growth because it frees you from the illusions of control. You strive, but not with fear. You plan, but not with desperation. You work, but not with anxiety about outcomes. You move forward, knowing that what is meant for you will reach you, even if the world tries to stop it, and what is not meant for you will pass by, even if you chase it with all your strength. This inner freedom allows you to grow without being chained to results. It allows you to keep going even when you don't see immediate progress, because your effort is for Allah, not for validation. Trusting Allah turns obstacles into lessons and delays into preparation. When something doesn't go as planned, tawakkul reminds you that Allah is redirecting you towards something better. When you face a hardship, it tells you that Allah is strengthening you for what's ahead. When you feel lost, it whispers that Allah never misguides a heart that seeks Him sincerely. Tawakkul transforms fear into hope, confusion into clarity, and weakness into strength. It becomes the internal engine that keeps you growing, improving, and rising, because your trust is rooted in the one who never fails His servants. Sabr in Islam is often misunderstood as quiet endurance or simple waiting, but its reality is far deeper and more transformative. Sabr is an active state of the heart. It is the inner strength that keeps you steady when everything around you feels uncertain. It is the spiritual courage to continue moving, believing, praying, and hoping, even when the path ahead is unclear. Sabr is not about suppressing your emotions, it's about anchoring your heart to Allah through those emotions. It is choosing faith over despair, trust over panic, surrender over resistance. When you practice sabr, you are not standing still. You are growing in silence, blossoming in unseen ways, and building a strength that only hardship can teach. Patience in Islam is not passive because it requires constant effort. It takes effort to control your thoughts when they want to wander into fear. It takes effort to keep your tongue from complaining when your heart is aching. It takes effort to hold on to hope when all you see are closed doors. Sabr means you keep showing up to your prayers even when your soul feels tired. It means you keep trying even when the results don't appear right away. It means you trust Allah's process more than your own timetable. This active patience is what shapes your faith and molds your character. Through sabr, Allah purifies you. Every moment of restraint, every tear held back for His sake, every disappointment surrendered to Him becomes a step towards spiritual refinement. You begin to see that what you thought was the end was actually the beginning of a new phase of growth. Sabr teaches you resilience, humility, and reliance on Allah. It transforms waiting into worship and hardship into elevation. It teaches you that the soul becomes strongest in the moments it chooses Allah above everything else, including its own comfort. Growth in Islam often begins when you finally surrender what hurts you and accept what Allah chooses for you. It is one of the most tender and difficult forms of spiritual development. Letting go of expectations that weighed your heart down. Letting go of people who were written only for a chapter, not a lifetime. Letting go of the version of your life you imagine so you can embrace the one Allah knows is better for your soul. Surrender is not weakness, it is the deepest form of trust. It is saying with your heart, Ya Allah, even when I don't understand, I choose your plan over my desires. And when you make that choice, something profound shifts inside you. Human beings cling tightly to control, to outcomes, to relationships, to comfort. But the more you cling, the more restless you become. The heart was never created to hold everything. It was created to submit to Allah. When you release what is harming your soul, you make space for what is healing. When you let go of what was never meant to stay, you allow Allah to replace it with something far greater. Surrender becomes the doorway through which peace enters. It quiets the mind, softens the heart, and frees the soul from carrying what was never yours to carry. There is beauty in accepting what Allah chooses. Sometimes He gives you exactly what you asked for, and sometimes He gives you something you never knew you needed. Sometimes He closes a door to protect you from what would have broken you, even at the moment you begged Him to keep it open. His choices are rooted in mercy, not denial. Growth happens when you stop resisting His decree and start flowing with it, trusting that Allah's plan is not only wiser than yours, but kinder. When you surrender, you step into alignment with your purpose, and life begins to feel lighter, clearer, and filled with an inner calm that only comes from accepting Allah's will. Heartbreaks and setbacks do not define who you are, they refine who you are meant to become. Every disappointment, every loss, every moment when life felt heavier than your heart could carry was not a sign of your weakness, but a sign of your transformation. In Islam, nothing happens to the believer without purpose. What you experience as heartbreak is often Allah clearing a path, shaping your character, and teaching your soul what it could not learn in comfort. The things that hurt you the most may have been the very things that softened you, humbled you, awakened you, and brought you back to Allah in ways ease never could. Setbacks are not barriers, they are mirrors. They show you your resilience. They show you your dependence on Allah. They show you how temporary this world is and how eternal your connection to Him must be. Sometimes Allah removes what you love, not to punish you, but to purify you. Sometimes He lets you feel the weight of loss so you can learn the sweetness of turning to Him. A broken heart is not a sign of divine neglect. It is often the moment when Allah is closest, holding you through a test designed specifically for your spiritual elevation. The pain you carry does not diminish your worth, it deepens it. It adds layers of wisdom, empathy, and strength that you would not have gained otherwise. You begin to understand people differently. You begin to understand yourself differently. You begin to understand Allah differently, not just as the one who gives, but as the one who heals. Every time you rose after falling, every time you tried again after being disappointed, every time you whispered, Ya Allah, through tears, you were growing. Heartbreak refines your soul, making you softer, stronger, and more rooted in what truly matters. It turns your wounds into wisdom and your setbacks into stepping stones, guiding you gently toward the person Allah always intended you to become. Remembering Allah is the quiet force that transforms your inner world long before anything changes around you. When the heart turns toward its Creator, even for a moment, something within it begins to soften. The noise of fear, confusion, and overthinking slowly fades, replaced by clarity and calm that cannot be found anywhere else. Dhikr is not merely the movement of the tongue. It is the awakening of the heart. It is the soul recognizing its source, its sustainer, and its ultimate home. Every time you remember Allah, you realign your heart with the one who guides every step of your journey. The human heart was not created to handle life on its own. It becomes restless when disconnected from its Lord. The worries feel heavier, the disappointments feel deeper, and the path feels darker. But when you bring Allah back into your thoughts, the same problems suddenly feel manageable. The same pain feels purposeful. The same uncertainty feels guided. Remembrance clears the fog from the heart, allowing you to see with insight instead of fear. It gives you the strength to keep going because you know that you walk with the one who never leaves his servants alone. Remembering Allah strengthens your identity as a believer. It quietly shapes your character, making your words gentler, your decisions wiser, and your actions more sincere. It protects you from negative thoughts, from impatience, from hopelessness. The Prophet reminded us that the heart rusts just like iron, and its polish is dhikr. Every subhanallah, every alhamdulillah, every silent ya Allah removes a layer of that rust, revealing a heart that is more alive, more aware, and more at peace. When the heart remembers Allah consistently, life begins to feel different. You respond differently to pain. You rise faster from setbacks. You see blessings where others see problems. You find purpose where others find emptiness. The more you remember Allah, the more guided, calm, and spiritually grounded you become, because a heart that stays connected to its Creator never truly loses its way. Every small act of obedience, even the ones no one sees, quietly builds the strongest version of your spiritual identity. In Islam, growth is not measured by dramatic gestures or grand achievements. It is built slowly, tenderly, through consistency. A single, sincere smile, a whispered dua before sleep, a quick astaghfirullah after a mistake, a moment of lowering your gaze, a hidden act of charity. These are bricks that construct the foundation of a believer's character. The world might overlook them, but Allah does not. What seems insignificant to you may be beloved to him, and in his sight, these small acts accumulate into mountains of reward and oceans of inner transformation. When you commit to small acts of obedience, you give your heart spiritual nourishment. Just as the body is sustained by small meals throughout the day, the soul grows through small, steady acts of worship. These moments keep the heart alive, reminding it of purpose and grounding it in faith. Even if your life feels chaotic or your iman feels low, these small acts hold you together. They keep the connection between you and Allah intact, no matter how weak or tired you feel. They pull you back gently whenever you drift, and they protect you from slipping into spiritual emptiness. The beauty of these little acts is that they shape your identity almost without you realizing it. A person who regularly remembers Allah becomes someone who naturally turns to Him in difficulty. A person who prays on time, even when rushed or tired, becomes someone who values discipline and sincerity. A person who guards their tongue in private becomes someone whose presence brings peace to others. Small acts change your habits, and habits shape your heart. Over time, these tiny steps build a powerful inner stability that no hardship can shake. They anchor your soul, empower your choices, and draw you closer to Allah with each quiet, consistent effort you make. Forgiveness is one of the greatest forms of personal growth in Islam because it frees the heart from the chains that hold it back. You cannot rise spiritually while carrying bitterness. You cannot move forward while holding the weight of resentment. And you cannot find peace while replaying old wounds. Forgiveness is not about erasing what happened, nor is it about pretending the pain was small. It is about choosing your healing over your hurt. It is about releasing the burden that keeps your heart heavy so that you can reconnect with Allah without barriers made of anger and grief. When you forgive, you are not saying the other person was right. You are saying your peace is too precious to be controlled by what they did. Forgiving yourself is just as essential. So many hearts are trapped in regret, guilt, or shame over mistakes they made years ago. Islam teaches that Allah is more merciful to His servants than they are to themselves. He forgives long before we allow ourselves to heal. When you hold on to guilt that Allah has already forgiven, you are only hurting your own journey. Forgiving yourself means acknowledging your weaknesses, learning from your past, and trusting that Allah can rewrite your story no matter how broken it once was. Growth cannot happen in a heart that keeps punishing itself. Healing begins when you accept Allah's mercy and allow yourself to step into the person you are becoming, not the person you once were. Forgiveness of others and yourself creates inner expansion. It opens your heart to light, compassion, and clarity. It protects you from the spiritual toxins that cloud your judgment and drain your energy. When you let go, you create space for Allah's tranquility to enter. You create room for new blessings, new relationships, new insights, and new beginnings. The soul grows most beautifully when it learns to loosen its grip on the past and trust that Allah's mercy is greater than every wound, every mistake, and every memory that once held you back. The soul grows when it learns to release what was never written to stay. So much of our inner struggle comes from holding on to people who have fulfilled their purpose in our lives, to moments we wished would last forever, to expectations that were never aligned with Allah's plan. Letting go is not about forgetting or erasing. It is about understanding that everything in this world is temporary, and everything you love will eventually return to Allah. The heart expands when it stops clinging to what is slipping away and begins to trust that whatever is taken is part of a divine design crafted with mercy, not cruelty. Letting go is one of the hardest lessons the soul must learn. It requires humility, faith, and deep emotional courage. You may feel like something is being torn from you, but often Allah is simply removing what you were relying on more than Him. He takes away attachments that imprison your heart and replaces them with freedom. He removes distractions so you can return to clarity. He closes chapters not to break you, but to guide you into new chapters where your soul can grow in ways it could not before. What feels like a loss may actually be protection, purification, or preparation. The soul becomes lighter when it stops fighting against qadr. It finds peace when it accepts that not everything is meant to remain. And not everyone is meant to walk with you into every season of your life. Some people enter to teach you, others to test you, and others to strengthen you. When their time in your story ends, that ending carries wisdom. Letting go honors the purpose they served while freeing you to receive what Allah has next for you. Every release opens space within you. Space for new blessings, new strength, new closeness to Allah. Growth happens when the heart stops chasing what Allah has already written to leave and starts embracing what He is sending next. In letting go, you are not losing. You are evolving into a version of yourself that is more trusting, more peaceful, and more connected to the one who never leaves. Consistency is one of the most powerful but overlooked forms of growth in Islam. Many people seek sudden transformation, a dramatic change, a burst of motivation, a moment that immediately shifts everything. But real, lasting growth does not come from intensity, it comes from steadiness. The Prophet taught us that the most beloved deeds to Allah are those done consistently, even if they are small. This is because consistency shapes the heart in a way occasional effort never can. It rewires habits, strengthens discipline, and builds a stable spiritual foundation that carries you through both ease and hardship. When you commit to even the smallest daily acts, a short dua, a page of Quran, a few minutes of silence with Allah, a moment of reflection, a sincere istighfar, you are slowly transforming yourself from within. These quiet practices become threads weaving your identity. They create spiritual resilience that allows you to withstand difficulties without crumbling. Consistency is like water dripping on stone. Gentle but persistent, and eventually it leaves a mark. Your heart too is shaped by what you do repeatedly. Consistency teaches you devotion over emotion. Sometimes you feel inspired and sometimes you don't, yet you still show up. That patience with yourself, that commitment to Allah, even on the days your heart feels heavy, is what builds sincerity. It teaches you that faith is not dependent on mood. It is a relationship you nurture daily. And through this steady effort, Allah opens doors you never imagined. Deeper tranquility, clearer intuition, greater discipline, and a stronger connection to Him. Growth rooted in consistency feels slow, but its effects are profound. One day you look back and realize the person you used to be is no longer who you are. You have softened, matured, elevated, not because of one big moment, but because of 1,000 small ones done with sincerity. This is the kind of growth that lasts, the kind that anchors the soul and brings you gently, steadily closer to Allah. A true conclusion is not just a summary, it is a reminder of why your journey matters. Everything you have learned, reflected on, and committed to throughout these key points points toward one powerful truth. Nothing in your life will change unless you decide to take full responsibility for your inner world. Your growth, your peace, your discipline, your connection with God, your purpose, and your transformation all begin from the moment you choose to act with intention rather than habit. Life will continue moving forward whether you are prepared or not, and the only way to rise above the noise, the pain, the distractions, and the doubts is by stepping into a higher version of yourself. One thought at a time, one choice at a time, one day at a time. Every key point pushes you to reclaim your spiritual, emotional, and mental power. You are not meant to live on autopilot or merely survive. You are meant to rise, to evolve, to elevate into someone who leads themselves with clarity and conviction. But this won't happen by wishing, complaining, or waiting for the right moment. It happens by making small, but consistent decisions that align with who you want to become. It happens by refusing to let your fears be louder than your faith. It happens by choosing discipline over excuses and purpose over comfort. You have everything within you to build a life that reflects strength, peace, and alignment. But you must choose that life deliberately. Start today. Start with one decision that honors your future self. Remember, your transformation begins the moment you stop running from your potential and start stepping into it with courage. Your life is not a mistake. Your calling is real, and your next chapter is waiting for you to step up and write it boldly.